Ladies and gentlemen, food seems to be spontaneously combusting around the world right now. As the efforts to engineer food scarcity are ramping up and the controlled demolition of global agriculture is marching forward, this is a crazy week this week with food factories and warehouses, sugar refineries, grain elevators, all exploding, just literally burning to the ground. And, we'd mentioned after the port of Beirut there burned down, taking out 85% of Lebanon's grain stores. And then a train derailed last week where 37 cars of corn just spilled out onto the ground, wasted. We said, man, it seems like there's a lot of accidents around food right now. You may need to be careful. It's very dangerous, especially food storage. Seems to be a dangerous place to be right now. I think we called it dead on. So let's talk about that. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast.
I don't think there is a secret.
And I want to start in Essex, where a massive warehouse burned down yesterday. Here from the Mirror, huge blaze rips through food factory, destroying the entire warehouse. And we read that a huge blaze ripped through a food factory in Essex late yesterday night, causing high flames and huge clouds of smoke. The building, which had 100 firefighters, over 16 crews at the peak of the incident, burned completely down. There was nothing left of it. So the warehouse has almost completely been destroyed. Only small sections of the external wall still standing. Nothing in it for sure. So what was this building that burned down, and authorities are still trying to investigate what happened there? This was Kent Foods Limited's brand new 2015 purpose-built flagship depot. It has 2 million cubic feet of storage space, from whence we supply the entire southeast of England. They could fit 230 London buses in there, or they could, but they had lots of food, all of which is now gone. And now they don't have their logistics hub, and they're not going to be supplying the entire southeast of England going forward. Kent Foods Limited, obviously a major producer and distributor in the UK. And we're just seeing the infrastructure of our food system exploded right from underneath us. Wow, we're still depending on it. In New Orleans, the Domino Sugar Factory caught fire yesterday. Not the factory itself, but the sugar storage silos, which are 10 stories high and had sugar in them. Let's read about this. The fire broke out, quote, in one of 2 10-story silos on the property, which the fire department says were packed full of sugar. Employees were evacuated, and obviously the 10 stories worth of sugar that were stored in these silos is wasted now. This further exacerbates the sugar shortage we've been enjoying here in the United States ever since we lost most of our sugar beet crop last year in the early September blizzard that went through Idaho. And, we saw co-ops leaving mountains of sugar beets out there just unharvested because they were ruined. All right, let's keep going, because this one is the most significant in Iowa on the heels of the derecho 18 days ago, which plowed through the very heart of the Corn Belt. Iowa is 6th, so 16% roughly of the U.S. corn production. The U.S., of course, is 40% of the corn production in the world. So you could not have shot weather warfare storms any more effectively through the heart of global corn production than this derecho did, right through the middle of the Corn Belt, straight through the middle of Iowa.
The explosion happened at Ag Partners in Royal, Iowa around 3:30 p.m. This video was sent in by a viewer. It captures the moment the grain elevator exploded in Royal, which is a town of more than 400 people southwest of Spencer, Iowa in Clay County. First responders from Everly, Spencer, Peterson, and other nearby communities were on the scene tonight waiting for a structural engineer who is surveying the extent of damage to the facility. Crews went door to door in the community after the explosion to check on residents and distribute water where needed. Power to homes in the area was shut down for a while, but was later restored.
There was smoke coming from just about every place on the elevator. I don't know if it was after effect of explosion or something's on fire, but
first responders from Royal and surrounding communities had previously done walkthroughs at this very facility for training.
And what we need to emphasize here is that this is a compounding disaster on top of a massive drought they've been enduring there. Farmers are assessing their fields on top of the fact that 96% of the state is experiencing drought conditions. And then we had the derecho. So the USDA now says 14 million acres of crop were affected by the derecho. Severely damaged accounts 4 million acres of corn and 2.5 million acres of soybean. Corn and beans, that's a ton of crops, millions and millions of acres. On top of all that, Iowa experiencing the most widespread drought on record since 2013. The crop damage is probably the worst I've ever seen. Largest area of damage, multiple problems, cascading failures. You can see how these things are mounting here. And we're not going to know for sure the total damage until next harvest. But again, stepping back, during the derecho, when I covered that, we saw picture after picture. It wasn't just the corn that was knocked over in the fields. It was grain bin after grain bin destroyed, knocked over. All of the on-farm storage for grains in this 100-mile swath of Iowa was destroyed. And that means that farmers now have no place to store their grains. In fact, Chuck Grassley here is saying many grain bins were destroyed during the derecho. This means farmers don't have the ability to keep their grains anymore, so they have to take them to grain elevators, boom, which are suddenly exploding. So you see, it's like piece after piece is falling here, and the very infrastructure that feeds the nation is being destroyed. If you can't shut it down in the name of, right, we saw that California is ordering meat plants to shut down. Ontario and parts of Michigan are mandating COVID-19 testing, and that's spreading throughout the U.S. right now, which is then being used as an excuse to shut down farms. So if you can't shut down a farm because of a virus, if you can't order the meat plants closed, if you can't send weather warfare through and take out 14 million acres of crops in a single land hurricane, well, you just burn down the grain elevator. You just explode the silos in Beirut. You just burn everything down. And this is what we're experiencing here, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's pretty clear when you see these things all happening every day that this is a systematic destruction of the systems that feed us, because we know they are hitting the reset button on the food supply. They're tearing down the old so that they can build from the ashes the phoenix of the New World Order rising, the new transhumanist food systems. And the governments are not taking steps as we enter the grand solar minimum to ensure that we had food stocked away that we could feed the population. No, they know this was going to happen, and they are seizing on that opportunity to hit the reset button and take total control. So when we see Bloomberg saying, hey, just like 9/11 meant that we needed to form the Department of Homeland Security, now COVID-19 means we need a federal agency to oversee food. That's not because they care about you, ladies and gentlemen. That's because the Rockefellers are calling for a federal agency to ensure nutritional security. They want guaranteed universal basic income, universal basic nutritional supplements. They just want total communism all over the world. And that's what they're implementing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has been informative. Please help me in spreading the word about the destruction of the food systems around the world and the need then for us all to be growing our own food and saving seeds, raising animals, taking back the power to feed our families and our communities from these people who are trying to take total control over society. It's not a secret what's going on at this point. So thank you. You can find this report and all my reports on iceagefarmer.com. And if you value my work, please support the broadcast. There's a few different ways you can do that, available on iceagefarmer.com/support. Thanks for helping me spread the word again. And let's go raise amazing animals, build great things, and grow plenty of abundant, nutritious food. Be well, folks.